2 guns, 1 rooftop, a whole city holding its breath. Darius Cole, the billionaire, stands in a tailored suit, tie loosened, arms stretched out, gun. Across from him, King Ray's, the street king, grips a rusty pistol, jaw clenched, eyes burning. Between them, the night hums with distant sirens and the far-off chop of helicopter blades. The city below glows like a broken circuit board, half skyscraper glass, half rusted rooftops. Tonight, Darius says softly, either you fall, or I own this city. Ray's laughs once, bitter and low. You already owned the day, he growls. The night is mine. Whoever pulls the trigger first doesn't just win an argument. He wins the banks, the blocks, the cops, the mayor's chair, the whole future of this place. And yet, in all that noise, in all that power, there is one secret neither man knows. A heartbeat, a child, growing inside one girl, tying their worlds together. The one thing that could stop them from killing each other. To understand how this city came to the edge of war, and how that secret almost burned it to the ground, we have to rewind. Mactiverson. It starts in a cold country where the rain never knows when to stop. In a university cafeteria that smells like fries and cheap coffee. This isn't a story about princesses and crowns. It's about a billionaire who owns the day, a street king who owns the night, and 2 children who dare to love each other in the middle. If you're already hooked into this war of power and love, go ahead and hit subscribe so you don't miss how it ends. Now, let's meet the ones who will change everything. Eli Cole sits alone at a plastic table, pushing instant noodles and cold fries around his plate. The cafeteria lights buzz overhead, flickering just enough to annoy anyone trying to read. His jacket is simple. His jeans are plain. Only the watch on his wrist gives him away a piece of metal that costs more than most students will earn this year. He keeps his sleeves down anyway. His phone lies face down beside the tray. It vibrates once, twice, a third time. On the screen, a notification flashes from his father's bank, then disappears when Eli flips the phone over again. He doesn't want to listen to another voice note about family business, about coming home, about responsibility. Not tonight. Is anyone sitting here? A voice asks. Eli looks up. A girl stands there holding 2 trays, one slightly tilted, fries on the edge, about to fall. Her scuffed black sneakers squeak on the floor, and a torn blue scarf hangs from her backpack like it's been through too many bus rides. Nah, Eli says, reaching out on instinct. The tray slips. He catches it. For a second, their fingers meet on cheap plastic. For a second, the whole cafeteria noise drops into the background. Thanks, she says, letting out a breath. No problem, he answers. She sets the trays down and glances at the empty seat. Mind if I crash here? My friend bailed. Yeah, sure, Eli replies. I was just pretending to study anyway. They sit. For a moment, they just eat. The buzz of lights fills the silence. Someone's laughter cuts across the room. A plate drops in the distance and clatters. You knew? She asks. Depends, he says. I've been here a year, but I still feel lost. She smiles. Her accent sounds familiar. Where you from? He asks. She tilts her head. You first. He hesitates, then shrugs. Small city. On the coast. Crazy traffic. Crazier elections. You probably don't know it. Closed. She laughs. He says the city's name. She freezes. Fries halfway to her mouth. That's my city, she says. I grew up there. You're joking. And just like that, 2 strangers in a foreign country discover they share the same home, the same streets, the same skyline. The same war waiting for them 3 years from now. Her name is Mara. She tells him that after a few minutes, between bites of cold fries, She talks about narrow alleys where kids play football with taped-up plastic bottles, about fried plantain smoke in the evenings, about neighbors shouting over music and generators. She talks about a city that never really sleeps. It just switches personalities when the sun goes down. Eli listens, hiding a smile. She's talking about the side of the city his father loves to erase from presentations. The side that never makes it into glossy brochures. "What about you?" she asks. "Which part are you from?" He clears his throat. Up on the hill. Near the old protest monument." "Wow." She whistles. "That's rich people area. It's not that crazy." He lies. He doesn't mention the cracked marble lion by his gate. Its nose chipped from a rock someone threw during a march years ago. He doesn't mention the guards or the cameras or the cars that cost more than whole streets. "You still have power at night there?" she asks. "Most nights," he says. "Lucky." She smiles. "When the lights go, our whole street glows with candles and phone flashlights. It's beautiful, until someone starts firing shots, and everyone dives indoors." He laughs softly, even though a part of him knows those shots often come from his father's security partners. "City's wild," she says, "but I miss it." "Yeah," he answers. "Me too." He almost tells her that his father practically owns half the glass towers. She almost tells him that her father runs half the streets the towers pretend not to see. They don't. Not yet. Back home, while two students trade stories, the city keeps moving. In the bright afternoon, Darius Cole stands behind a long glass window, staring down at traffic. His office sits high above everything. The walls clear, the air cool. A single, red server light, blinking quietly in the corner. By this time next year, he tells a group of men in suits, "We won't just do business here. We'll set the agenda." They nod. They always nod. On his coffee table sits a tablet showing polls for the upcoming mayoral election. His preferred candidate smiles from the screen. Perfect teeth. Expensive haircut. Promises. Rehearsed down to each breath. Once he wins, Darius says, permits, land, contracts, all streamlined. No more begging counselors. "We call," they answer. Down below, in an alley that never sees the sun, King Ray's sits in his plastic chair with bullet scars, a cheap throne on a hot rooftop. His people stand around him, faces hard from nights spent awake. A kid climbs up, scared eyes wide. He talks about a man who fired a gun too close to children, playing with that taped-up plastic bottle. Ray's face goes dark. "My rule," he says, voice quiet. "No guns. Within 3 steps of a child. By the time the sun drops, the man who broke that rule will never hold a gun the same way again." Ray's lights a cigarette, looks out over the neighborhood, and mutters, "They think they own the city because they sign papers. We own it because we bleed for it. 2 men, 2 worlds. Same city. Same election, circled on both calendars. And watching both worlds, somewhere between tower and slum, is Chief Barrow. His office smells of cheap cologne and cigar smoke. 2 phones rest in his desk drawer. 3 SIM cards in a row, each labeled in his own handwriting. 1 for Darius. 1 for Ray's. 1 for his own secrets. Peace, he tells his officers, is expensive. But don't worry. Someone is paying. Back in the foreign university, time moves in coffee cups and lecture slides. Eli and Mara start as cafeteria strangers and become something else. Study partners, walking home buddies, late-night call addicts. They share memories of a city with broken roads and beautiful sunsets. She tells him about nights on rooftops, listening to older guys talk about the king of the blocks. He laughs it off, pretending he's never heard that name. He tells her about quiet drives along the coast. Windows up, air conditioning on. His father taking calls in a voice that makes even politicians shut up. She listens, pretending she doesn't know exactly what that kind of power looks like. One rainy night, they sit outside the dorm under a tiny shelter, watching drops streak down the glass. "If you could change one thing about our city, what would it be?" Mara asks. He thinks for a second. "The feeling that someone else is always deciding everything," he says. "Like the whole place is a chessboard, and we're just pieces." She nods slowly. "I'd make it safe enough that kids can sleep with their windows open, without gunshots waking them up." He smiles. "Big dreams." She stares at the rain. Somebody's got to have them. In that moment, neither sees the shape of their future. They just see each other. Months pass. Exams pile up. Rent is due. Their city feels far away. Until it doesn't. One evening, the TVs in the campus gym switch from sports to breaking news. Eli runs on a treadmill, headphones in, when he sees familiar streets on the screen. Except this time, smoke rises above them. He pulls out an earbud. The headline crawls along the bottom. "Explosion at mayoral rally. Several injured." The footage shows people screaming, dust in the air. A lone shoe lies in the dirt, separated from its owner. Campaign banners flap in the smoke. Eli's chest tightens. His phone vibrates. A voice note from his father. He doesn't open it. Not yet. Across campus, Mara sits on her bed, staring at a video her cousin just sent. It's shaky phone footage of Ray's men enforcing a sudden curfew. They shout at shop owners to close their doors. Shots crack in the distance. Kids scatter, plastic ball bouncing away. "You're lucky you're not here," her cousin writes. "Things are getting mad." Mara doesn't feel lucky. She feels useless. That night, Eli knocks on her door. She's still holding her phone. "You saw?" he asks. She nods. "Our city is burning," she says softly. They sit together on the edge of the bed, watching the same video on different screens. For the first time, the war back home steps into the room with them. "I hate that place sometimes," Eli says. "I love it," Mara replies, "but I'm scared of it too." He looks at her. "One day," he says, "we'll go back and make it better." She forces a smile. "You promise?" "I promise." Neither of them knows it yet. But someone else in that city also heard that explosion. Darius watched it replay from 3 different camera angles. Ray's heard it from his rooftop and thought, "That's not my bomb." Chief Barrow counted the minutes until the first envelope of emergency security money arrived on his desk. The calls come on the same night. Different numbers. Same urgency. Eli's phone rings while he's writing notes in the library. The caller ID shows his father's name. He almost sends it to voicemail. Almost. He answers. "Eli," Darius says, his voice calm but too controlled. "How are your grades?" "Fine." Eli replies. "What's up?" "It's time you came home," Darius says. "The election is close. I need someone I can trust by my side." "Family." "I'm in the middle of a semester," Eli protests. "I've already spoken to the university," Darius says. "Your credits will transfer. This isn't a request, son. It's an opportunity." Eli hangs up, feeling like the floor just shifted. Across campus, Mara's phone lights up with a name she hasn't seen in weeks. "Dad." Her chest tightens. She answers. "Mara." Ray's voice is rough, like gravel. "You're still eating their foreign food?" "Mara." "Trying." She jokes weakly. He doesn't laugh. "Listen to me. Things are changing back home. Too fast. Too dirty. I want you here. I don't trust the air anymore without you in it." "Dad." "I'm studying," she says. "I can't just—" "You can," he interrupts. "I've arranged it. Scholarship can wait. This is family. Come home." She stares at her suitcase in the corner of the room, as if it's already packed. Later that night, Eli and Mara meet under the same tiny shelter where they once watched the rain. This time, the sky is clear. Their faces aren't. "My father wants me back," Eli says. "Mine too," Mara replies. They look at each other and feel the same weight drop onto their shoulders. What if we just don't go? Eli asks. Mara smiles sadly. They talk for hours. About staying. About leaving. About telling the truth. About who their fathers really are. In the end, they choose the same thing they always do. Hope. We'll go back, Mara says. We'll survive the election. Then, we'll find a way to fix things. And us? Eli asks. We're not a side story, she says firmly. We're the main plot. They seal it with a kiss that tastes like fear and promise. In the background, flights are being booked, papers are being signed. Chief Barrow is topping up one of his SIM cards, ready to make new calls. The plane hums like a giant metal secret. Up front, in first class, Eli reclines in a wide leather seat. A hostess offers him champagne. He shakes his head, staring out the window instead. The seatbelt light dings overhead. He pulls out his phone. A text from his father glows on the screen. Proud of you, big things coming. He types a reply, deletes it, types another, deletes that too. Behind a thin wall, deep in economy, Mara sits squeezed between a snoring man and a woman clutching a crying baby. Her knees knock the seat in front. Her torn blue scarf is tied around her travel bag, the last piece of the life she built abroad. She clutches a small envelope of cash savings from late-night shifts at the campus cafe. It feels too light now that she's measured it against the cost of going home. A baby wails beside her. She rocks the armrest gently, trying to soothe it. Something soft, breaking open in her chest she doesn't have words for yet. The plane shakes once, twice. The captain's voice crackles overhead. Both Eli and Mara look up at the same time, separated by class walls, but united by the same drop in their stomachs. They land in the same city on the same day, walk through the same airport, breathe the same heavy air, and never see each other. Not yet. The city they return to is not the one they left. Election posters cover every concrete wall, rust-stained and peeling. Some candidates' faces are slashed with spray paint, others burned at the edges. Loudspeakers on trucks blare promises no one believes anymore. On one side of town, kids play between burned-out cars, jumping over broken glass like it's just another game. On the other side, glass towers shine, untouched by soot, their lobbies smelling of polished marble and expensive perfume. Eli's car glides through a private gate. The marble lion with the cracked nose still stands guard, eyes blank. Guards nod as he passes. He steps into a world of clean floors, air conditioning, and silence that only rich homes ever have. Darius meets him in the foyer, arms open. "Welcome home, son," he says. "I hope you're ready to work." Eli forces a smile. Always. Across the city, Mara climbs stark concrete stairs to a rooftop where loud music blasts from a small speaker. Ray's waits in his bullet-scarred plastic chair, cigarette between his fingers, eyes softening when he sees her. "My girl," he says, standing to pull her into a hug. "You came." "How could I not?" she says. "You sounded like the world was ending." "In this city," he replies, "it's always almost ending." He points to a wall where two posters hang side by side. Darius's shiny candidate and Ray's scarred activist. "One of them will sit in the mayor's chair," he says. "But either way, we make sure they remember who really owns this place." Mara watches the posters flap in the wind. For the first time, she feels the invisible line between glass tower and rooftop cutting through her own chest. She doesn't yet know that the man in the tower has a son whose kiss she still tastes. Chief Barrow sits at his desk. Suit jacket off, tie loosened, blue tie with a coffee stain near the knot. The room is dim, lit by a flickering, fluorescent tube. On the desk, two envelopes lie side by side. One is stamped with Darius's company logo. The other came from a nameless messenger, but carries Ray's street reputation like a shadow. Barrow weighs them in his hands like a man judging fruit at a market. He opens one of his desk phones. "Yes, sir," he says smoothly. "My men will protect your rallies." He hangs up, switches SIM cards. Yes, boss, he says, in a different tone. I'll make sure their men don't trouble your people. He ends the second call and leans back, smiling. More chaos, he mutters. Night falls. In a downtown hotel ballroom, under crystal chandeliers, Eli stands beside his father at a fundraising dinner. Journalists snap photos. The candidate shakes hands and laughs a little too hard. A reporter shoves a microphone closer. Mr. Cole, people say you're the power behind this campaign. What do you say to that? And Darius smiles. I say, I believe in this city's future, he replies. And we're ready to invest. Cameras flash. For a brief moment, we see Eli's face in the background. Viewers at home will recognize him later, when he appears next to an unmarked van in a different part of town. Meanwhile, Mara walks with Rays through a crowded market where refrigerator bulbs flicker inside tiny shops. People nod respectfully. Kids stare. Some whisper her nickname, Princess of the Blocks. You see? Rays says, gesturing around. These people? They don't care about fancy speeches. They care about who shows up when their roof leaks, or their son gets arrested. And you show up, Mara says. I try, he answers. But they want to erase us. Build malls where we live. Push us out to the edges. This election is survival. He doesn't say Darius's name. He doesn't have to. The hatred is old. Like a scar everyone in the city knows is there, even under the shirt. The audience now knows what Eli and Mara do not. That they belong to men on opposite sides of this war. The tension sits between scenes, like a loaded gun. Days blur into rallies, meetings, and whispered warnings. Somehow, in the middle of campaign chaos, they meet in a small cafe tucked behind an old cinema. A place that smells of stale coffee and carpet mildew. The yellowed smoke detectors on the ceiling hang crookedly. When Mara walks in, Eli is already there, fingers tapping the chipped table. You vanished, she says, sitting down. So did you, he replies. They talk. About the flight. About their father's sudden interest. About the city feeling like it's about to explode. Eli almost tells her the truth. That the man on every billboard is basically his father's puppet. That he's seen maps with red X's over neighborhoods like the one she grew up in. Mara almost tells him that the king of the blocks everyone whispers about is the man who tucked her into bed as a child. Instead, they circle around the truth like it's a live wire. If this election goes bad, Eli says, things could get worse. Things are already worse, Mara replies. But maybe that means they're about to change. Outside, a campaign truck passes by. Speakers blaring a jingle so loud it rattles the cafe windows. Both of them flinch. Both pretend they're fine. For now, their love lives in this tiny pocket of neutral ground. The war hasn't found them here, yet, but the city doesn't care about neutral ground. One night, Rays' men escort a group of vendors home after a rally. At the same time, a convoy of SUVs from one of Darius's companies tries to roll through the same narrow street. Nobody wants to move. Words are exchanged. Guns come out. Chief Barrow's men are nearby. They see the conflict, then look away. Orders are clear. Stand down, unless someone important dies. Shots echo between walls. People dive behind stalls. A fruit stand goes flying, oranges bouncing through the dust. When it's over, the street is full of smoke and shouting. A boy's bicycle lies twisted on the ground. A taped-up plastic bottle rolls to a stop, near a man clutching his bleeding arm. Rumors become storms. Some say it was Rays who started it. Others blame Darius's security. Both men swear the other fired first. Both swear revenge. The next morning, Eli sees shaky phone footage of the clash on his feed. Panic rises in his chest when he spots one of his father's vehicles in the background. Mara sees the same clip from the opposite angle, sent by her cousin. She recognizes one of her father's lieutenants dragging a wounded kid into a doorway. They meet again at the cafe, this time with anger in the air. "This has to stop," Mara says. "People are bleeding for their ego." "They both think they're protecting something," Eli replies. "Or owning something. They're not gods," she snaps. He watches her, realizing just how dangerous the truth hanging over both of them really is. One evening, as the election ads scream from every TV, Mara sits with her cousin watching a debate on a small screen. Darius's candidate speaks, polished and smooth. "That's Cole's puppet," her cousin mutters. "You know, the billionaire." "Cole?" Mara repeats. "Yeah, Darius Cole. Thinks he owns the daylight." Mara's heart stumbles. Later that night, she scrolls through old photos on her phone. A picture of Eli at the university pops up smiling, hand lifted to block the camera. In the corner of the image, his student card hangs from his neck, half turned. She zooms in. The letters blur. Eli Cole. Her chest goes cold. At the same time, on the other side of the city, Eli stands in his father's office. The TV behind Darius shows news footage of a street rally. Reyes stands in the center, shouting into a microphone, heat in his eyes. A caption under the screen reads, "King Reyes vows to defend the blocks against elite takeover." Eli hears Mara's voice in his head, talking about rooftops, about a king of the blocks. He feels the truth slam into place. "You know that man?" Darius asks casually. "He's the rot we're cutting out." Eli swallows. "I've heard of him." "How?" "Cablet." "How?" He walks out of the office with his stomach twisting, the name Reyes sitting beside Mara in his mind like a shadow. That night, they both text each other. "We need to talk." Same sentence, same time. They meet at the cafe, but this time, there's no small talk. "Your last name," Mara says quietly. "It's Cole, isn't it?" He closes his eyes for a second, then nods. "Yes." "And your father," she continues, voice shaking. "He's Darius Cole, the man trying to take the whole city." "What about you?" he asks, throat tight. "You always talk about the king of the blocks. Who is he to you?" She takes a breath that feels like swallowing fire. "He's my father." Silence. The cafe noise fades. Even the jingle outside seems to dull. The billionaire's son and the street king's daughter sit inches apart, suddenly realizing their love sits right in the center of a war older than both of them. "We're not supposed to exist," Eli whispers. "Maybe that's why we do," Mara replies, eyes shining. But before they can decide what to do with that truth, Mara sways slightly in her seat. Her hand goes to her stomach, almost unconsciously. "You okay?" Eli asks. She nods too quickly. She isn't lying. She is tired. Of secrets. Of wars. Of men who think owning a city is more important than saving it. But tomorrow morning, when she stands in a cramped bathroom, staring at a thin plastic stick and a slow blue line, she will realize there is something new growing in the middle of this story. Something neither Darius nor Reyes planned for. Something that could end the war. Or ignite it. And that is where we'll pause this part of the story. The billionaire's son now knows he loves the street king's daughter. She is about to learn she carries a child between two worlds. When we come back, the election will tighten. The streets will burn hotter. And one night, two guns will meet again on that rooftop. The bathroom is small, the tiles cracked, the bulb humming faintly. Mara stands barefoot on the cold floor, eyes fixed on the plastic stick in her hand. A faint blue line crawls into view, slow and undeniable. Pregnant. Her heart races. She hears campaign songs from a distant loudspeaker outside, muffled through the tiny window. The city is shouting about votes, while a quiet revolution begins in her body. Her phone buzzes on the sink. Another news alert. Another promise. Another lie. She doesn't look at it, she looks at herself. One hand trembles toward her stomach. This can't be happening now, she whispers. Not in the middle of all this. But it is happening. Eli sits in his room, back against the wall, half-packed boxes around him. On his phone screen, the voice note icon flashes a message from Mara he hasn't played yet. He hesitates, then taps it. Her voice comes through, soft but shaking. Eli, we need to meet. Today. It's important. He feels his chest tighten. He grabs his jacket and heads out. They meet at the tiny cafe again. The carpet still smells like mildew. The yellowed smoke detectors stare down at them like tired witnesses. Mara sits with both hands wrapped around a mug, as if holding it together will keep her whole life from spilling. Her torn blue scarf is wound tight around her wrist now, like she needs it to stay standing. What's wrong? Eli asks. Different? She cuts in. Yeah, I am. She takes a breath so deep it hurts. Then she slides a folded paper across the table. He opens it. An ultrasound image, grainy, small, a tiny curve in the middle of gray. Is this? He starts. Yes, she says quietly. Ours. The word hangs in the air longer than any campaign jingle, louder than any gunshot. Eli's first reaction isn't anger. It's fear. Fear of his father. Fear of her father. Fear of a city that eats the children of its poor and uses the children of its rich like trophies. Say something, Mara whispers. He looks at her. At the image. At her. I'm not leaving you. She nods. Eyes shining. Good. Because this child didn't ask to be born between two wars. If we bring them here, we have to make sure they don't grow up dodging bullets bought with our father's money. That's impossible, Eli says, before he can stop himself. Mara leans forward. So was us, she replies. So is this. And yet, here we are. So is this. So is this. They decide to tell their fathers. Separately. Eli goes first. He finds Darius in the high-rise office again. City spread out below like a chessboard missing half its pieces. The red server light blinks in the corner, recording everything as usual. I need to talk to you, Eli says. Make it quick, Darius answers. Fingers moving across a tablet showing updated poll numbers. We're 3 points ahead in the west side. I plan to make it 10. It's not about the election, Eli says. Darius looks up. Just a little. Your life is tied to this election. I'm in love with someone. Eli blurts out. And she's pregnant. Silence. The city noise hums faintly through the glass. You expect congratulations? Darius asks at last, voice flat. I expect you to listen, Eli says. His hands are shaking, but he keeps going. She's not from your world. She's from the blocks. Her father is... Stop. Darius snaps. If you tell me he's that Ray's animal, I will have a heart attack on purpose, just so I don't have to finish this conversation. Eli swallows. He says nothing. He doesn't need to. Darius stares at him. Realization dawning like a bad sunrise. You're serious, he whispers. You chose her? His blood? You think I built all of this? He gestures at the towers. So my heir could bring the streets into my house? She's not the streets, Eli says. She's a person. A good one. She's the best thing I've ever done. Darius laughs. But there's no joy in it. You sound like those fools on TV. Love will save us. This city is not a Disney movie, Eli. It's a negotiation. And you just gave away your leverage. So that's it? Eli asks. You choose the city over your grandchild? Darius's jaw tightens. Don't use that word, he says. Because if you keep going down this road, I will pretend that grandchild doesn't exist. Eli leaves with his chest burning, feeling smaller than the cracks in the marble lion's nose. On the other side of town, Mara faces her own king. Reyes sits on the bullet-scarred plastic chair, cleaning a gun he hasn't fired in months. Men stand around, arguing about which polling stations might be attacked. Can we talk? Mara asks. Reyes looks up, his eyes soften only for her. They move to a quieter corner of the rooftop, near a rusted water tank. I'm in love, she says, not wasting time. He smiles slightly. I know. I've seen the way you stare at your phone. Who is he? Some boy from the neighborhood? He's not from the blocks, she says. He's from the hills. His face hardens. He's Darius Cole's son, she adds, because ripping the bandage slowly would just mean more pain. Reyes steps back like she slapped him. You're joking, he says. Tell me you're joking. I wish I was, Mara answers, voice trembling. But I love him. And I'm pregnant. The word hits him like a punch. For a long moment, Reyes says nothing. The city noise fades. Even his men, talking behind them, seem far away. You brought his blood into our line, he finally says, voice low. The same people who send bulldozers to our streets. The same people who pay cops to plant drugs on our boys. And you expect me to bless it? I expect you to care about your grandchild. The one who did nothing wrong. The one who could be the bridge between two worlds that have been trying to kill each other since before I was born. Reyes turns away, looking over the city, he claims. There is no bridge, he mutters. There is only us and them. That's how it's always been. Then maybe always is wrong. Mara fires back. Maybe that's why everything keeps burning. He doesn't answer. He just walks away, leaving her standing there with a heart that feels heavier than the whole skyline. The election draws closer. The streets feel like they're holding their breath. Rallies turn into brawls. A campaign truck is torched. Someone throws a rock at Darius's convoy, cracking a windshield. Reyes's activist candidate is arrested overnight on what everyone calls mysterious charges. On the news, commentators argue about unrest. In the neighborhoods, people just call it survival. Chief Barrow moves through all of this like a man gliding between raindrops. He attends meetings at the tower in the morning, shakes hands on the rooftop by night, always wearing that blue tie with the coffee stain near the knot. In his office, the flickering fluorescent tube buzzes as he watches clips from hidden cameras, private dinners, backroom deals, intimidation sessions. On his computer, folders are labeled with names like Cole, Leverage, and Reyes, Insurance. He isn't on anyone's side. He's on his own. And tonight, he's about to make the move that could put the whole city in his pocket. Barrow calls Darius first. Sir, I have information, he says smoothly. Reyes is planning to attack your warehouse by the docks tonight. My men can't be seen. But if you come quietly, you can catch him yourself. Handle it, personally. Darius doesn't like doing his own dirty work. But the idea of looking his enemy in the eye, of ending this war with one decisive move, tempts him more than it should. What time? He asks. Barrow gives him coordinates. A rooftop by the docks. A neutral place. Perfect for an accident. 20 minutes later, he calls Reyes. Boss, he says, voice now rougher, mimicking the street tone. Cole is bringing documents to the docks tonight. Plans to clear 3 blocks by force. No compensation. He's doing it in secret. No press. You catch him there. You win the whole election before the vote. Reyes's jaw flexes. Send me the location. Barrow sends the same rooftop. He sits back in his chair after the second call, the glow of screens reflecting in his eyes. On his desk lies a small device, no bigger than a credit card. A live streaming camera. When he presses a button, a tiny green light blinks. He plans to broadcast whatever happens on that rooftop to the highest bidder. Politicians. Foreign news agencies. Rival gangs. Whoever pays most for chaos. Eli and Mara meet again in her small apartment. The ultrasound photo is pinned to the inside of the cheap wooden wardrobe, under a stack of folded clothes. I talked to him, Eli says. He thinks I betrayed him. Mara sits on the bed, shoulders slumped. Mine thinks loving you makes me a traitor. For a moment, neither speaks. The only sound is the neighborhood outside motorbikes. Someone arguing. A baby crying. 2 kids laughing too loud for the late hour. He won't back down, Eli says. Neither will your dad. They're on the same path, Mara replies. Different boots, same road. We could run. Eli offers. Leave the city. Start over somewhere else. Raise the baby far away from all of this. She looks at him quietly. And when our child asks where we're from, why we left, what do we say? We loved you, but not enough to fight for the place you came from. We give them a reason to stop, she says, one they can't ignore. He frowns. What could possibly? Us, she cuts in. And this child. We walk straight into the middle of their war and remind them what they're risking. That's not safe, he says. Safe. Left the city a long time ago, she replies. But maybe we can bring a piece of it back. It's insane. It's dangerous. It's the only plan they have. News travels fast in a city like this. Rumors faster. Mara's cousin hears a whisper about big men meeting at the docks. A vendor hears a cop mention a long night. A driver spots armored cars heading toward the same part of town. By midnight, the story has shifted a dozen times. But one thing is clear. Something important is happening on a rooftop by the water. Mara hears it first. Dockside rooftop, she says. Both of them. Tonight. How do you know? He asks. My city talks to me, she replies. Sometimes it screams. They head out separately, but aiming for the same skyline. Mara wraps the torn blue scarf around her head this time, hiding her face. Eli pulls a cap low, hoping no one recognizes the billionaire's son on a night like this. As they move through different streets, the city shows its two faces. Eli's car glides past closed shops and burned-out cars that look like skeletons under orange streetlights. He sees campaign posters torn in half. Candidate smiles ripped away. Mara weaves through alleys where refrigerator bulbs flicker behind metal grills, where people sit on plastic stools, whispering about who might die tomorrow. Above all of it, helicopters circle lazily, like vultures waiting for a feast. The rooftop by the docks is wide, open, windswept. The sea's dark line lies just beyond, waves crashing against silent warehouses. Darius arrives first, flanked by 2 men in suits. They hang back as he steps forward, gun heavy in his hand, coat flapping in the night air. Minutes later, Reyes emerges from the stairwell, 2 of his own men behind him, faces hard. He carries a rusty pistol, the kind that's seen more history than any politician. They stop 10 steps apart. Their men form a loose circle, hands near weapons, eyes sharp. High above, almost invisible on a nearby antenna, Chief Barrow's tiny camera blinks green. The feed goes live to a private server, recording everything. Nice of you to come in person, Darius says. Saves me the trouble of sending flowers to your funeral. I prefer to bury my enemies myself. Reyes replies. Saves on coffin money. They trade words like bullets, old grudges, new insults. Each blames the other for every life lost, every street cleared, every law bent. And now, Darius says, raising his gun, we stop pretending this city is big enough for both of us. Reyes lifts his pistol too. For a heartbeat, it looks like the opening scene all over again. 2 guns. 1 rooftop. A whole city hanging in the balance. Only this time, there's something different. Footsteps. Mara bursts out of the stairwell first, breathing hard, eyes wide under the scarf. Behind her, Eli appears, chest heaving, face pale. What are you doing here? Darius barks. Mara, get back. Ray's shouts at the same time. They don't. Instead, they walk forward. And then, they do the maddest thing they have ever done. They step between the guns. Move, Darius orders, voice low. I can't, Eli says, raising his hands. If you shoot him, you shoot me. Ray's nostrils flare. Mara, this is not your fight, he growls. She steps closer to the barrel pointed at her chest. It became my fight. The day your war spilled into my school, my street, my life, she says. The men around them shift nervously. Fingers tighten on triggers. The tiny camera blinks faster, capturing every angle. Both of you. Listen, Eli says, voice shaking but loud. This city doesn't belong to either of you. It belongs to the people who are trying to sleep right now, while you decide whether tomorrow will be peaceful or a funeral. Spare me the speeches, Darius snaps. I feed thousands of those people, and I protect them. Ray's interrupts. You just move them like game pieces. You both US them, Mara says sharply. You buy cops. You buy votes. You buy fear. And now, you're ready to kill each other over who gets to sign the next contract. Darius lifts his gun a little higher. I am doing what I must to keep our legacy strong, he says. Your legacy, Eli echoes. You mean me? Yes, Darius says. You, but you're making that very hard. Then listen to me, Eli says, stepping closer to Mara, because my legacy is standing right here. He takes Mara's hand slowly, visibly, and places it on her stomach. Ray's frowns. Darius's eyes narrow. What are you doing? Ray's demands. Mara looks at him, then at Darius. There is a child here, she says, voice clear. Your grandchild. Not a gun. Your. The wind seems to stop. What? Ray's whispers. We're having a baby, Eli says. Yours and mine. Street and tower. Day and night. Decide what kind of world you want that child to open their eyes in. Raises pistol, lowers a fraction. Darius's grip loosens just slightly. Don't lie to me, Rays says, eyes wet with rage and something else. Don't put that word grandchild between my enemy and me. Look at her, Eli says. You know she's not lying. Mara pulls up her shirt, just enough to show the faint curve that wasn't there months ago. I have proof, she adds softly. You can see the ultrasound. It's pinned inside my wardrobe because I was too scared to put it in a frame. Even if this is true, Darius says slowly. You think one baby changes the fact that he tried to burn my warehouses? That he extorts my stores? That you did the same, Mara interrupts. You bulldozed his streets. You bought his cops. You both have blood on your hands. But this is the first time there's been blood that belongs to both of you. You shoot him, Eli says, looking at his father. You shoot half your grandchild's story. You shoot the only chance this city has of being something other than a war zone with a skyline. You shoot him, Mara says to her father. You teach your grandchild that bullets solve problems, that the streets never change. For the first time, in a long time, both men look scared. Because this isn't about territory anymore. It's about legacy they can't control. Up on a nearby roof, unseen, Chief Barrow watches the live feed on his tablet. The image shows guns, arguments, tears. It also shows something he didn't plan for. The word grandchild. Thrown like a grenade that doesn't explode, just rearranges everyone's faces. He frowns. This wasn't part of the script, he mutters. He taps his screen, ready to switch the angle, to make sure he captures the exact moment someone finally fires. That clip will be worth a lot of money. On the dockside roof, Rays is the first to move. His gun hand drops to his side. He steps closer to Mara, eyes searching her face for any sign of a lie. You're really? He starts. Yes, she says, You're going to be a grandfather. Something cracks in his expression. This is a man who has seen friends die in his arms, who has watched boys become killers before they turned 18. But he has never held a grandchild. Darius watches, seeing his enemy soften, and something mirrors inside him too. He lowers his gun as well, though not all the way. You think one child fixes decades of this? He asks. The bribes? The beatings? The bombs? No, Eli says. But it has to start somewhere. Let it start with you. Not pulling that trigger. If you want to own this city so badly, Mara adds, try owning the responsibility instead of the land. Own the fact that your choices decide whether your grandchild hears sirens every night or stories. Silence stretches, and then a new sound cuts through it. A ringtone. Darius's phone vibrates in his pocket. So does Ray's. Notifications flood screens. Messages pop up. People across the city gasp at once. Because right now, on thousands of phones and TVs and cheap tablets in living rooms and bars and police stations, a live stream has started playing. It shows Chief Barrow's office. His face. His desk. His blue tie with the coffee stain close to the camera. Someone, maybe a nervous junior officer, maybe a tech he underpaid, has leaked his private recording vault, and the city is finally seeing who has really been pulling strings. The stream jumps between clips. Barrow taking money from Darius's men, promising full protection, no questions. Barrow taking money from Ray's men, promising open road, no patrols. Barrow laughing about letting dogs fight in the street so I can sell leashes to whoever wins. On the rooftop, Ray's phone lights up with the feed. So does Darius's. So does Eli's. They watch, stunned, as the chief talks about them like they're just tools in his own plan to rise higher. He actually said, "Let them kill each other. I'll comfort the winner," Ray's whispers, knuckles white around his phone. "He told me you were planning an ambush tonight," Darius says slowly, looking at Ray's. "He told me you were bringing documents to clear my blocks," Ray's replies. Mara and Eli exchange a glance. The puzzle pieces click into place. "You see?" Eli says. Down in the neighborhoods, people crowd around screens. In bars, drinks pause halfway to mouths. In fancy living rooms, polished families stare in shock. On rooftops, crews shout curses. In the tower, company directors look at each other with wide eyes. The city finally has a new villain to point at. And for once, it isn't one of these two men. Darius looks at his son. At Mara. At Ray's. At the guns. Still. In their hands. He takes a long breath that seems to pull years of ambition and anger into it. Then he lets it go. "I'm tired," he says quietly. "Tired of buying order that never lasts. Tired of fighting you while someone else takes the real profit." Ray's nods slowly. "I am tired of burying boys twice a week and calling it honor," he admits. "Of pretending my throne is anything more than a plastic chair with bullet scars under a leaking roof." They both look at the kids standing between them. "This child," Darius says, "did not ask to be born into this mess." "But they will be born," Mara replies firmly. Ray's glances at his men. They shift uncertainly. These are guys who've only ever known loyalty through violence. But even they see the stream. The chief's smirk. The way their bosses were used. "What do you suggest?" Ray's asks the kids. "Start with him," Eli says, pointing toward the camera no one can see but everyone knows is there now. "Barrow. Together," Mara adds. "Not as enemies. As two sides, cleaning out the rot." Darius and Ray's exchange a look heavy with history. Then, slowly, they nod. On another rooftop, seeing his feed explode with angry comments, Chief Barrow grabs his keys. He thinks he can still run. He's wrong. The next day moves fast. Police loyal to Barrow arrive at his office to protect him, only to find other officers, cameras, and a crowd already waiting. Darius's lawyers file corruption complaints. Ray's people flood social media with clips of Barrow's betrayals. For once, the streets and the towers want the same thing. The chief steps out into the sunlight, sweat shining on his forehead. He tries to smile. Reporters shove microphones in his face. "Is it true you took money from both sides?" One shouts. "Did you order officers to stand down during shootings?" He starts to speak, but sirens drown him out. An internal affairs van pulls up. Handcuffs glint. Cameras zoom in. For the first time in his career, Barrow realizes he has no SIM card left to switch to. No number left to call. As he's led away, someone in the crowd throws a cracked teacup from a nearby stall. It shatters at his feet. Porcelain spraying. The cup rattles like the city's patience finally snapping. Back on his rooftop, Ray watches the arrest on a small TV. In his mansion, Darius watches on a large screen. For once, their reactions are the same. Good. The election goes ahead, but the mood has changed. The candidates scramble to distance themselves from Barrow. Investigations open into his entire network. For once, fear moves upward, not downward. Darius and Ray meet again. This time, in a quiet conference room, not on a rooftop. No guns. Just a table, 4 chairs, and a pot of coffee that smells burnt. Eli and Mara sit beside them, not behind. "So," Darius says, looking at Ray across the table, "we share a grandchild now." "Seems like it," Ray replies. "Didn't see that coming." "Neither did I," Darius admits. "But here we are." They talk. About territory. About contracts. About how to stop treating the city like a prize and start treating it like a home. They draft an agreement. Ray will back off extortion if Darius agrees to fund real housing, not just malls. In the neighborhoods, Darius will pull his candidate's strings in exchange for community protections written into law. It's messy. It's imperfect. It's full of distrust. But it's a start. At one point, Ray leans back and smirks. Darius smirks back. "Never thought I'd share a waiting room with your men." At the edge of the table, Eli squeezes Mara's hand under the wood. For the first time in a long time, the future doesn't feel like a cliff. It feels like a long, difficult road. But at least it's a road they can walk on together. When the votes are counted, neither man's candidate wins outright. The scandal with Barrow has shaken faith in every familiar face. Instead, a third candidate, a quiet councilwoman who actually spent years working with both street families and small businesses, pulls ahead. She isn't owned by anyone. She refuses private deals. She wears simple clothes and takes public transport to work. On TV, pundits call it a shock. On the streets, people call it about time. Ray watches her acceptance speech from his rooftop. Darius watches from his polished living room. Both feel something like relief and fear. At once. They can't control her. And maybe that's exactly what the city needs. Behind them, in both places, conversations are softer. Men talk about business plans that don't involve bullets. Mothers talk about maybe letting their kids play a little later outside. Nothing is perfect. But the air feels different. Months pass. Campaign posters fade. Some are taken down. Some remain like scars. Inside a city hospital, fluorescent lights shine on a long corridor lined with blue plastic chairs. The air smells of disinfectant and burnt coffee from the vending machine. Eli paces back and forth. Ray sits in one of the chairs, elbows on his knees, fingers laced together. Darius stands by the window, trying and failing to pretend he's not nervous. They are 3 men who once planned each other's deaths. Now, they are all waiting on the same thing. "You wearing that watch again?" Ray asks Darius suddenly, nodding at his wrist. Darius glances down. "Old habit." "Sell it," Ray says. "You could build a whole playground with that money." Darius snorts. "I already built a playground." "Yeah? Where?" Ray challenges. "In the hills," Darius says. "Then it doesn't count," Ray replies. For a second, They almost smile. Almost. The door at the end of the corridor swings open. A nurse steps out. Mask pulled down. Eyes bright. "Congratulations," she says. "It's a girl." Eli exhales a breath he didn't know he was holding. Darius's shoulders sag. Ray scrubs his hand over his face like he's wiping away years. They walk into the room together. Mara lies on the bed, tired but glowing, sweat dampening her hairline. In her arms, wrapped in a white blanket, a tiny face sleeps. Eli moves to her side, tears in his eyes. "We did it," she replies. The nurse gently lifts the baby and places her first in Mara's arms, then lets each man hold her. When Reyes takes the baby, his hands shake. The tough street king who ruled the night looks like a boy again, awed and afraid. "Hey, little lion," he whispers. "Granddad's here." Darius holds her next, cradling her as if she's made of glass, and the city's future at the same time. "She has your nose," he murmurs to Eli. "Thank God." Mara laughs softly. "She has all of our trouble," she says. "Let's make sure she doesn't inherit our wars." Time moves on. The city doesn't become perfect. No city ever does. But small, stubborn changes take root. In the neighborhoods, a new community center opens where a drug den used to be. Kids line up to play on swings built from metal that didn't come from old guns. Reyes still sits on rooftops, but now he spends more time arguing about school funding than territory lines. In the hills, the cracked marble lion still stands at Darius's gate. He doesn't fix the nose. He leaves it broken, a reminder that even stone can be hit by anger if you forget who you're building on. The police force changes, slowly. Barrow's name becomes shorthand for everything people don't want to go back to. "Don't do a Barrow," they say. Two officers getting too comfortable. One evening, as the sun sets orange over the water, Eli, Mara, and their little girl stand on a different rooftop. Neither docks, nor slums, nor tower. Just a regular building, halfway up the hill. Below them, the city glows. Glass and rust. Malls and markets. Old scars and fresh paint. "Do you think she'll ever know how close this place came to tearing itself apart?" Eli asks. Mara adjusts the baby in her arms, the child's tiny fingers grabbing at the air. "She doesn't have to know every detail," she says. "She just needs to see what we did with the second chance." "If you've watched this far," the narrator says softly, "and you've felt even a little of this city's war and its hope, hit like and share this story with someone who needs a reminder that even the hardest places can change. Because in a city once split between day and night," the narrator continues, "two people chose to stand in the middle and say no. No to bullets. No to puppets. No to the idea that power is only about who holds the gun. They gave that city something new. Not peace forever. Not justice in one day. But a third world between the tower and the block. A world built around a tiny heartbeat that refused to pick a side. And if a city like that can start again..." Final line. In the end, nobody owned the city. But for the first time, everyone who lived there finally had a chance to.